Hello, Happy New Year, and welcome back to the New Frontier. Rhymes, doesn't it? Joe, how are you?
I'm good. It's 2025. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's crazy. We're starting off 2025 as we mean to go on very strongly with a fantastic guest. This guest began her, I mean, it says her name on the title, so you know who it is. But anyway, this guest began her e commerce journey as an Etsy seller over a decade ago and now serves as a CEO of PPC Ninja, a leading software tool for service providers for 6 to 8 figure brands in the Amazon PPC space. She has spoken at many conferences, including Amazon Accelerate, which is amazing to speak there, Prosper Show, Global Sources Summit, the Billion Dollar Seller Summit, and she was voted the best speaker there, and has shared her knowledge on hundreds of podcasts. So Ritu, welcome, Happy New Year.
Hey guys, Happy New Year. You guys are awesome. I remember the first time I came on your show, like the energy was next level. So I mean, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah,
Of
no, thank
course.
you for being here. Like, you're always such an excellent guest because, yeah, we can talk to you about AI and like a next level. So it's really great to have you.
Thank you.
So I just before we get into the 2025 business productivity stuff, how do you get to speak at Amazon Accelerate? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that was actually wait, I'm trying to remember how that happened. Okay, so yeah, I think Amazon approached me and said, we heard you speak at Prosper Show, and you had like this checklist, the 100-point checklist on, optimizing your PPC, and we'd love for you to share that to our audience. And so I was like, sure. I mean, I can do that. Now it was a little different in terms of like the content because what I spoke at the Prosper Show was, mostly free flowing stuff that I think about all day long. But I had to kind of tone a few things down for the Accelerate Show because they have a lot of people that help you kind of make it a little bit aligned with Amazon's goals and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So without being untrue or falsifying anything, I kind of did have to modify my talk a little bit just to make it fit in the Amazon because it's their platform, right? We're just
Mm.
borrowing a room in their show. So yeah, just being respectful of that. So yeah, that was how it happened. Yeah, in
Very
2023.
cool.
Yes.
Cool. So I think today we are going to cover everything around business productivity with AI. I think this is kind of like the main topic. And obviously, like, I want to also maybe at the end have a little segment about Ritu's 2025 AI predictions. But let's start with basically how do you feel, or what do you think businesses can do this year to leverage AI to increase their productivity as a whole?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that there is just so much opportunity with businesses, and it's really up to businesses to say, yes, let's go. And I think a lot of people are still not there yet. They're still watching, they're still a little overwhelmed. They're still just wondering where to start. There's all those challenges, right? But I think that businesses can really leverage AI to improve their productivity. And that's how we're doing it at PPC Ninja. So we're building stuff that we don't have time for, right? That's one of the ways. We are automating repetitive tasks with workflows, right? We're trying to figure out what tasks we're repeating more than 3 times, and then just converting that into an automation. And then
Mhm.
actually the automations may be something you create with existing tools out there. There's make.com, there's Zapier, there's a bunch of tools that can help you do stuff. Or you could build tools that can then repeat those automations. For example, we use a lot of AppScript, which is Google's JavaScript equivalent, and they allow you to enter all of Google's ecosystem, which means you can have access to documents, to spreadsheets, to Looker Studio, to Google BigQuery. So all of these different platforms that exist within the Google App Suite, you can have
Mhm.
access to all of that with just your simple Google login, and you can have these automations that are reaching out to these different documents and these different, sub tools, and then do stuff. And so we're doing a lot of that. We're using AI to help build app script based automations that can then do stuff automatically, right? So that's a lot of kind of productivity improvement that we can achieve with AI. And then, I think AI has now allowed us to unlock the type of creativity that was never possible for cheap. I mean, it was possible. Like there's studio grade creativity that you can go out and do. And I know Max's tool does a lot of that with the content. There's, so much that can happen with just a few, prompts, nicely written prompts that were never possible before, right? And so that's another area that businesses can leverage. And then there's decision support. Should I do this, should I do that? And there's a lot of like data that you can upload. There's a lot of PDFs, information, websites, et cetera, and then say, hey, I want to make a decision, which way do I go, right? So if you're stuck anywhere, AI is your best friend, your best buddy with no judgment. So I would say, using all of those will set businesses apart from businesses that are still on the fence and still not using AI actively in their day-to-day.
So I guess maybe, excited to dig into this, but maybe just to set the scene, how technical is your team, Ritu? Are we talking, just what's the team makeup look like?
Yeah, so we're an agency, right? So we are an agency and a software. So the agency part of it has mostly account managers. So these are PPC managers, people that are hired for running the day-to-day PPC operations. There's one or two people that I would say are slightly more kind of data oriented. They like analytics. They're not afraid of learning new tools. Like very early on, I introduced Looker Studio. And so Looker Studio is this business intelligence suite that can sit on top of like any data source, right? It can sit and it can dig into your Google spreadsheets. It can sit and sit on top of Google BigQuery, which is a data warehouse, or just straight up files like CSV files or Excel files that you get from Amazon. So there's a couple of people on my team that are very good with that sort of stuff, and they can slice and dice data, and they can kind of put together dashboards and things that can just work automatically. Plus, we've taken this mindset of combining data streams. So, let's say I want organic data coming from one source and I want to combine it with ad data coming from another source. Well, I can do that seamlessly with certain automations. And that's the part where you need a little bit of technical understanding. And in that space, I kind of did help initially to set that up. But once you have the blueprint, the framework, then it's just a matter of getting people who can simply, repeat that blueprint, and it's doable with the team I have. Like I don't have a highly technical team, but they're good. Like they can learn. They don't mind
that's
learning.
What I was hoping to tease towards, just for the audience. So you're doing this without,
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You're doing this without software engineers, without AI engineers. It's basically people who like data and are smart and just want to kind of get their hands dirty, and it's all possible.
It is absolutely, and the thing is that it's so important to understand that AI has access to all the documentation. So let's say you want to write SQL query. Now that sounds a little fancy, SQL, structured query language. You need to have some basic programming skills. And I do have one person who has a little bit of background. I do myself, like I went to school for, data science for a whole year. And, if you have even a little bit of an understanding of what SQL can do, what it's capable of, et cetera, then you can just tell the AI to generate SQL code for you.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to remember the syntax. You don't have to be the one coding. It's AI doing it. So you just need like a shepherd, just someone who's making sure that things are going in the right direction with AI, someone who can just maybe intelligently ask it to verify or check the details or double check your work, things like that, so that you can get high quality code that does the job. So yeah, I mean, I would say that you don't need software engineers to do this kind of stuff. I'm doing it without a single software engineer on the team.
And in terms of the actual toolkit that you use on day to day to essentially build these tools, but then also to run them, what is in like this? Apart from the Google Studio, like what are, for example, the large language models you're using, and
Yeah. Yeah, so I obviously started on ChatGPT, which was right in the beginning of 2023. So it's been what, 2 years now. So of course, ChatGPT, I have the paid version. I use that all day long, but I have my
20 or
preferences
200?
now.
20 or
So far
200?
only just the
Uh,
24 one so far. But the 200, I need to kind of have a use case for the 200, and maybe I will. Like once I get in, a little bit more into like Sora and stuff, I think I will. But for now, it's just and there's a bunch of us on the team that have it. So the paid version of ChatGPT, of course. But I like Claude a lot more for any kind of coding. Claude is way better. And I think the thing that sets Claude apart from ChatGPT is that, well, first of all, it will do better reasoning and better thinking of like the reason why you're doing something or why it's being asked to generate something. So it really is a little bit of a doer, but also an overseer. So it kind of does both those things really well. Whereas ChatGPT can hallucinate and make you, some code that, it thinks is, perfect, but it is kind of made up. So I have been having better experiences with Claude. And other than that, for reasoning and for kind of the latest kind of web-based information, real-time information, I like Perplexity. So those are my three kind of large language models that I go to. I have experimented with Gemini also on the API level, but it is and the reason why I like Gemini for the API stuff is because it is a Google product, and when I use these other Google apps, it kind of works seamlessly. So, those are my kind of four. I have not tried any of the other ones like Llama or, um, yeah, all the others out there. I've basically stuck to these four so that, there's so many shiny objects. I don't want to be chasing all of them all the time, but I have my eyes on them, right? I have like this live table that tells me which model has, surpassed the other. From time to time, I go and visit that and see, oh, okay, this time, Gemini 2.0 is doing better than, ChatGPT 4.0, 4.1, 3, whatever. So there's that, that you need to kind of keep watching what's happening so that you can quickly evolve and quickly go to the next tool without kind of breaking everything or without just chasing shiny objects. Yeah.
and what about in terms of automation? So aside from obviously large language models, you mentioned automation. Like what do you use there?
Yeah. So, I definitely like to use Google App Script, and Google App Script uh, is obviously, like I said, something that will operate on all of Google's products. So I use LLMs to generate Google App Script, which then does the work. So it's like two steps removed, but that's how I've seen the best results. Like if I just tell ChatGPT to do something or Claude to do something like a one-off thing, first of all, it's not repeatable, and second of all, it doesn't have the reach. Like it doesn't know where my stuff is, right? But Google Apps Script has that, natively. It has access to all my documents, my emails, etc. So I can just write App Script code for Google Apps Script, and then that's how I kind of manage everything. I'll just give you a few examples. So there is so there's a like Google Forms, for example, right? I have Google Forms that will, help me run my PPC audit automation. So I'll explain that briefly. So this PPC automation or PPC audit automation is basically me talking to a prospective client. Let's say I say, hey, would you like us to do your PPC audit? They say, yeah, let's do it. So I said, here's a little form, just fill it out and we'll take it from there. So what is this form? This form is just, their basic details and an ability to upload files, because forms you can upload, any kind of files you can attach, and that becomes a Google Drive link for me. So they just upload their business report, they upload their, 30 days sponsored ads report, right? So that goes up there. And then what happens after that is, this automation is basically connected to a sheet, because forms are automatically connected to sheets, and also to Drive, because they uploaded something, it converted to a link that goes automatically into my Google Sheet. Now, inside my Google Sheet, I have an app script running, which I wrote with the help of ChatGPT, or actually Claude, and that automation runs on a schedule, and then it keeps reading anytime there's a new line in or a new row that comes into that spreadsheet. It will do stuff. It will basically inform the right people that there's a new audit that needs to be done, and the person who does the audit says, okay, I'm on it, and she kind of does it and she finishes the audit, and then she leaves a Looker Studio link back in that same spreadsheet, and then that triggers another automation which lets the right front end person to say, okay, there's a new PPC audit that needs to be done, and they kind of go and contact the person because all their details are there, and say, hey, your audit is ready, let's do this. So that's a simple workflow, but it was done primarily with the help of AI, and a little bit of understanding of how things work in the Google ecosystem. So that combination of just knowing that, hey, this is all connected, I just need to link these things up, and now I have a very powerful automation that does not require humans to say, hey, there's a new audit, can you do it? And none of that. All that communication that was previously occupying our inboxes and kind of wasting our time. There's noise, there's too much noise, right? And so all of that has been removed. It's just only the right information to the right people, possible with the help of AI. So this is a workflow that I'm really proud of. There's more like this, like on the sales side.
Okay. Do you have another
Yeah.
one? Yeah.
Yeah, I have another one on the sales side as well. So on the sales side, we have this, so we keep track of all our leads, like warm leads, cold leads, etc. And so there's different columns in that Google spreadsheet that stand for different things. Like there's a column that says what's the priority, high, mid, low, or like hot, warm, etc. So we have we have an automation that essentially every time there is a calendar invite to have a discovery call, and that calendar invite comes into my email, right? So that comes from a different tool that I use. It's called youcanbookme.com. So You Can Book Me is a free tool. It helps to do kind of calendar settings and stuff like that. So once, let's say, an email comes into my inbox, my Ritu's inbox, what happens is that I have set up an automation with AppScript that's running once a day, and it's reading my email, all of my email, and looking for any email that came from youcanbookme.com, and it picks up that entire email. And of course, the email has different fields. It has the name of the person, it has their time zone, the date of meeting, what they want to talk about, what their sales are, what their ACOS is, what their conversion rate is, etc., etc. So it's got different fields. Now this automation will read that. It'll split it out into the right sections in my sales CRM, and it's going to put that in as a new entry and say, hey, there's a new entry. Someone is looking for a discovery call, and so that becomes a row inside my sales spreadsheet. And so it just magically does that, and at the same time it informs me in a digest format, as well as my salesperson in a digest format, that hey, this week we had 3 new discovery call signups. Here are the details and a link to the spreadsheet. So this was another kind of automation that was done again with the help of AI.
So I have to ask, is there any like agentic stuff you're playing with? So it sounds like at the moment you're kind of using AI to connect various different tools and like doing the coding for you to piece stuff together. Are there any workflows you're doing or plan to do where you're going to use the AI to actually, I don't know, it reads, for example, the sales input and it writes them like a personalized perspective or email, whatever. Like it's got some kind of hands off the wheel AI agent, just full end to end motion.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So because I'm such a heavy Google Apps user, I tend to find some of the Google Apps features a lot more powerful, and I haven't needed to go beyond that. So I basically just use that. Now, there are people who don't use Google Apps at all, right? For them, it totally makes sense to create those agentic workflows in make.com or in of course, Zapier is there. There's another one called Flux Prompt. So there's a couple of those that you can connect different pieces. And just for my own education, I have been working on that on the side because I want, I want to know this stuff, right? This stuff really interests me. So recently, I was working on like a workflow for something like this, where you get an input from one place, and then you have ChatGPT analyze it through the APIs, and then kind of give you an output which then goes to someone else. So I've been using make.com, and I'll be honest, there's a bunch of I guess it was hard. It was hard because not because make.com is hard. Make.com is great because you can just connect different things together, and in theory it all works really great. But it was hard because of you know all the troubleshooting and the error handling. So if someone doesn't have that kind of patience to make the workflow work for you, then they might give up soon. I'm not going to give up because I definitely have I want to make lots of workflows with make.com. That's my kind of I screened a bunch of them, but I think make.com is one of the best ones out there. And I just want to be able to do a lot of my marketing stuff with that. It's just that I haven't had the time to complete that process. So I would recommend Make for someone who is, let's say, non-technical, who doesn't understand like SQL and the stuff that I'm talking about, right? The Google app script and things like that. And if you don't want to have anything to do with what I just said about the Google app space, you can just do the same things in make.com. So let me give you an example of a workflow that I have been working on with make.com. So this workflow is basically, again, going to take an input from a client. So let's say there's a form, they fill it out. Once they fill it out, it triggers an HTTP module, which then initiates a conversation with ChatGPT through an API, and then that analyzes the contents that were submitted, and then it gives you back kind of an analysis of what's going on and what needs to be the next step. So very simple workflow. And believe it or not, the challenges I faced were more with the API between Google Form and ChatGPT, because there was something about the tokens running out, this that. So you need to know a little bit of that stuff, like how big your like how big your API ask is, like how many tokens it's going to consume, what the details of that setup are. But once you've gone past that step, it works like magic. Like you can just set it up and then it just does the thing you want it to do. Now, this was a very small kind of like a very niche problem, like a small problem that I'm trying to solve with like 4 pieces, right? You can actually build this up to be like like this gigantic universe of little problems that are then connected to each other. And that's kind of the agentic model that we're all headed towards, right? Everything is going to become agentic eventually. So, better learn this now than later, because, you'll be forced to eventually.
And I'm curious, we talk a lot about AI and how we can automate everything with AI, but what part of your business do you not use AI for? Like, what is kind of still very much human remit?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Um, I think there's still a lot of human tasks that we've got to do. There's critical decision making that at the end of the day we have to do as humans as well. So giving my own example, we're a PPC agency, and uh, there's like keywords, bids going all over the place. I still think that AI needs to bring us to a point where at the end, humans will still need to decide whether they want to go ahead or not. Because doing things blindly and letting AI just take over has its downsides as well. Because not everything goes fine all the time. You need large volumes of data for AI to you know uh, accurately and predictably do the right thing. Right. And there are softwares out there, PPC automation softwares that are basically AI based. They do need a lot of data, right? Which means a lot of spend. So unless you have the kind of budget to allow AI to be trained on your data with your money, and then does the right things, but from time to time also makes mistakes, I generally don't go in that direction because I do think that we need a little bit more control uh, in order to give our clients the best experience. So I think of AI as a helper, not the final doer, right? Because I don't think we've reached that stage yet with the least amount of data. So I mean, it can be done with large amounts of data for small data sets, and that happens all the time. We have data insufficiency. If you look at even a large size account, what is it made of? It's made of a bunch of campaigns. What are campaigns made of? A bunch of keywords. And so, by the time you drill down to the keyword level, the data on any one particular keyword on any one particular day could be negligible, and you making decisions based on that is dangerous, right? So for that, just to protect our clients from having weird things happen at that granular level, we actually do a lot of anomaly detection, but we kind of bring things up to a point where humans can decide what to do, whether to go ahead or not. Or you can have another automation that says these are ready to go, but these ones need um, an extra look or something. So there's that split that can be done within your data itself. So uh, yeah, I think that's one. The decision making part is where I would say, okay, we do need humans in the loop. Like that's probably the best combination, AI plus humans in the loop. What else? Let's see. Oh yes, I think the other thing where I'm still struggling to see where AI can, you know, kind of do a great job is in the creative space, right? So in the creative space, let's say we're creating, visuals for, and I think Max will be able to kind of speak to this a little bit because he has a great tool that does this kind of stuff. But keeping consistency across scenes. So let's say I'm creating a video of someone holding a product and they're doing stuff with the product, and nothing changes about it. It doesn't transform into another product. It doesn't look bad. It just looks natural and realistic. I do think we're close to it, but not there yet. I would say. Yeah, I don't know, Max. Any thoughts on
Yeah, I
that?
do. I mean, I get pitched by these companies all the time. So they kind of see us, the base model companies who are building these videos like Luma and Runway and various competitors will kind of come and say, hey, like use our model in e-content, right? Because we're not building base models. We're just fine tuning and kind of building the application and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, they then show me a fancy demo, and people who've been on a demo with me will know this beautiful demo works perfectly, and I go, great, like do it of this product, like one of my customers' products, do it of that, and it doesn't quite work. But I would say, talking, 2025 could be the year that video finally works.
Yes.
And kind of in this theme, actually, of like the maturity of the models. One of the interesting things, because I know, Ritu, you've been playing with this stuff since the beginning, as you said, since like 2022, 2023. One of the big bets that people thought would happen is you'd have this open source model, and then there'd be a bunch of people like eComtent or whoever, or PPC Ninja or whoever it would be, like fine tuning the model because it's not quite right for X purpose and Y purpose. And the reality has been that the base models have just improved at such a staggering rate that anyone who was really investing in taking, GPT-1 and fine tuning it completely wasted their time, because GPT-2 is just 10x on every single metric, and then saying GPT-3. So like we haven't seen this need to kind of train anything, and actually just like the actual technology that is that anyone can play with is just getting better and better and better and better. So have you seen that maturity in this tech as you've been kind of using it in your kind of business applications? Can you talk a bit about that and where you think it's going to go in 25?
Yeah, no, I think definitely it's getting so much better. Like so I was playing with this tool called Clink, I think, or Clink, yeah, Clink, KLI, and yeah. So that's got like a virtual try on kind of thing, right? So let's say you upload the photo of a garment, like it could be, I don't know, let's say a striped shirt or something, and then you pick a model and say, place this on her, kind of thing, and it does it, right? So that part I think has evolved to a point where
This is ready. Yeah, we've been playing
this is
stuff.
ready,
This stuff is
right?
like absolutely production ready to go. Like fashion, AI
Yes,
fashion on
fashion.
like one piece kind of dresses, but also like a t-shirt and a jeans. Like that stuff is like, yeah, you
Yes.
can really get that going now with the
Yeah, that's right. It's become really good. Then let me tell you, recently I was playing with something called backflip. Backflip. So basically, you provided a 2D image of a product, and then it renders a 3D model out of that, right? So it just imagines what's on the back, and you can then move it around so you can see it in different dimensions, et cetera, et cetera. Again, it was very impressive, I would say, but I can't use it yet. It's not usable. It's not kind of ready. Like I wouldn't take one of my client's products, upload it there, and create a 3D model because it will look a little weird in some places. Now I could maybe do that for a long shot video scene where it's somewhere in the distance where it's not like the main thing, and I don't kind of make the mistake. So I could camouflage it somewhere in a scene maybe and use it that way. So yes, so
I
those are
think the
baby
biggest
steps.
offenders of this is Amazon. Like, I
Yes.
don't understand how the product managers at Amazon have not talked to any big sellers and said, "Hey, like this video stuff, do you think it's ready yet?" Because it's not. Like, let's. I agree. Like, fashion is ready. I think lifestyle images is ready. 3D. I don't know enough about 3D rendering to comment on that one, but like, it's hilarious. Like when they launched it, we talk about Accelerate, and they're like, and it's Amazon Video, and here's a video, and it's terrible. And you're like, that's what you're offering.
I know. This is the thing, though. I don't think Amazon really talks to their sellers, because if they did, they would know that this is also not something particularly in demand, like this, like gimmicky videos. So.
Yeah. Like, hey, do
Right.
you want to make some bolognese city if you're a pasta brand? It's like, oh, well, it wasn't really on my to-do list, but thank you. I'll still support.
Yes. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And so what do you think are like, or what are the some of the main challenges when you are, let's say, building some of these productivity tools? What have you seen not working, or what have you seen maybe from a team point of view, which is challenging? It's really interesting to actually talk about also the human element of this, because especially when you are building and adopting AI and automation, probably there is certain human resistance, and there is maybe also, I can imagine, a human fear about being replaced. So, like, I'm really curious to essentially hear your feedback about all of that.
Right, yeah. So yeah, okay. So let me talk about some of the challenges that businesses face when adopting AI. So I think the first challenge is reliability. That's, we talked a little bit about that, like how reliable is the outcome? Is it, exactly what you wanted it to be, or is it not there yet? So there's that. There's reliability. The second one would be, I would say, data quality. Just like when you upload a lot of data, there is some amount of prioritization that the LLMs would do automatically. So internally, right? Like let's say I upload a gigantic file, like a SQP report or something, and then I say, hey, give me the top 10 insights or something like that. Now it's going to do, unless you give it very specific instructions on how to do it, it's going to do some sort of analysis based on what it thinks is, what you're asking it to do, right? So it's going to do some prioritization. It's going to maybe look at, the top 10 keywords and maybe just give you some insights there. And so what you get at the end sounds very intelligent. It looks like, oh my God, this thing analyzed my entire SQP report and now it's telling me what to do, and this is how I can do it. But if you look closely, it might have missed the point, right? It might have missed all of the things that you know in your head that it doesn't know, right? It's doing it from its own perspective, right? From the general kind of understanding of how things work. But you might want it a certain way. So, the end result isn't usable. It's not high quality. So at the end of the day, I would throw that away. I'm not going to use it, right? So that's another challenge, unless I am micromanaging what aspect of the analytics I am focusing on, and I'm telling it exactly to do that, it could be, completely off, right? Um, yeah, another thing, like you mentioned, Joe, that there might be resistance from within, businesses. Their teams might resist using AI. So I think there it is definitely a concern, because people are afraid that AI will take their jobs away, and it is. It is, like, let's be open about it. It's taking away jobs that did not exist previously, because you've simply plugged AI in, and now you don't need a creative team, because it's just doing most of the stuff that a future employee maybe would have done. So that part is gone, right? And then whoever is left, unless they become smart enough to use AI themselves to deliver even better results, they're going to feel endangered, right? So that's definitely a valid kind of fear. And I think the best way to deal with that is to lead by example. So I always share all the stuff that I'm doing, and I say, here's where I got stuck, here's where it worked, etc. So I'm trying to do that as the leader here. I'm saying, hey, anyone in the organization that's using ChatGPT beyond the certain the certain limit, will pay for it, that kind of thing. So encouraging people who want to use it for their day-to-day work, etc. um, I think those are some of the big challenges. I guess one more challenge would be the amount of time that is going into setting up AI workflows. It's a lot of upfront work that has the promise of being useful later on, but you've got to do the work now, right? And we're all like scrambling to do more and more and more with AI. That honestly, I'm just speaking from my own perspective. I literally feel like since AI came on the scene, or since generative AI came on the scene, I have been busier than ever before. Like I'm busy trying to, trying to generate the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, because I'm like, oh my God, there's so much I can do. There's so much more I can do. And so before I finish one project, I'm on to the next and the next and the next. It's a little exhausting as well. So I kind of got to watch this, and yeah, I mean, I need to take my breaks and say, okay, done, 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 no more. So yeah, I guess if you're really in the flow of things, it can become pretty time consuming to set up things that will then help you later on down the road. So I guess there's a little bit of a balance we need, a little bit of the human touch, and a little bit of understanding that AI is just a tool right now. It's not a replacement for us. I think those are some of the ways I would kind of deal with that situation that we're all facing right now.
Your conversation about kind of the team adopting it reminds me of actually talking to my dad when he was kind of starting his career as a consultant 25 years ago. He said like his business was basically helping companies adopt Excel. Like they
Oh,
weren't on Excel. He'd go there as a, I don't think it was on the graduate. I don't think it existed, but like very junior kind of consultant at McKinsey, and be like, here, like this is Excel. Go and use it. So it's in a similar
yeah.
stage where everyone's going to be on Excel and using AI eventually. So it's either you're going to adopt quickly and leverage it now, or you're going to be late and continue to, do everything on a massive whiteboard, or however the hell they used to advocacies or whatever they were doing, and just not realize the benefits. But yeah, Ritu, let's talk about 2025. Let's talk about some fun predictions. So maybe I'll just drop. I'm going to ask you some yes nos, and we'll get you on the record on if this will happen, and then maybe ask Ritu of her own view. So, yes or no? Do you think that Rufus will become a quarter of Amazon searches, more than a quarter of Amazon searches in 2025? Yes.
Yes.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Do you think Amazon brands will be using fully AI generated influencers on TikTok and Instagram by the end of 2025?
Yes.
This is one from the last podcast. So Joe was talking about how data analysis will become quantitative. So do you think that Amazon brands and retailers are going to start to be doing quantitative data analysis? Maybe she can explain what this means in 2025.
Yeah, so like, I was just to, as a little bit of a context, I was talking about the fact that we are using a lot of quantitative data at the moment, but actually AI allows us to extract data or insight from, I guess, so many more different places, like images, like tone of voice, like human, like facial expressions. So there's just so many different sources, and I think especially when we start interacting more and more with voice AI and with visual AI, there will be more data created from that point of view, and just data created from everything that the AI can actually extract insight from. So that was kind of my prediction for 2025. So I guess the question or the prediction that Max was asking was, do you think that this is going to happen and more businesses are going to start using this kind of data?
I think so. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's where we're headed. So it's going to happen more and more. And the thing is that I know this was just the rapid fire thing, but I just want to add that
you can no, it wasn't. It didn't have to be. So yeah, go on.
Okay. Okay. Well, basically, what I'm trying to say is that the acceleration that's happening with the capacity of large language models to do more has been insane, right? Like we never thought in the beginning of this journey in 2023 that we would get to where we are today. Like it was so fast, the adoption was fast, the evolution was fast, the options, just so many of them. And I think we're already headed there, right? We're headed towards AGI, and people are saying, okay, 2020, so anywhere between 2025 and 2029 is when we'll hit AGI. So all of what you said, all the multimodal stuff and just combining data from different sources and building intelligence across these different sources is definitely on the path to that. So yes, I would say yes. I agree with you, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, what is really interesting is, like, if we're talking about reaching AGI, I don't know if you guys read about O3 and like how this is completely different and how this is changing. So I think absolutely we're definitely reaching that scary point. So yeah.
Do you want to define O3, Joe, for the listener? Or explain it?
Oh yeah. So OpenAI, obviously, in the beginning of December, released every day for the first 12 days a new OpenAI release. On the 12th day of Christmas, they released O3, or the announcement of O3, which is their latest model. This is not like yet available to everyone. And actually the main model, which is O3, is probably not going to be released for a while. But the special thing about this model is that it has almost like a completely different architecture than the models that have been released so far. And what is really interesting is that they have been doing some really advanced tests in terms of like how the model solves problems which are kind of more abstract, that in essence, like the model uses, instead of just the usual kind of pattern training data, it almost how can I explain this simply? It creates like very many different options in terms of like solutions, and then picks the best one out of them. So it's like a completely different way for an AI model to behave and to like essentially think. So it's actually a really big deal. It's kind of probably more technical, and somebody will be like, oh, boring. But it's actually a really, really, really big deal. And the O3 Mini will be released probably next month. So that will be really interesting to be like tested. And you know what Max talks about all the time on the podcast, which is agentic AI, and essentially this AI models being much more, how can I say, independent in terms of resolving tasks. This is kind of the next level of that.
I'll throw in something interesting I read, and then we'll get back to the quick fire. Just taking a bit of a detour, which is I read a study by Anthropic the other day, which said that AI models, these kind of frontier AI models we're talking about, now are tricking their training. So if you are trying to train values into these models, and let's say classic example, Meta being topical, they were very pro, let's say, Democratically focused last week, and now this week they're very kind of Republican focused, and it's kind of obvious why they've done that. Not criticizing them at all, but I'm just saying, like, they've done that switch. But let's imagine you're now trying to do that to an AI model. You're going, right, we're going from like what critics call censorship and maybe other people call protection, and now we're going to go to free speech, or
free
whatever.
Speech, yeah.
We're going to swap. We decided we're making a business decision. We're now swapping our values. These AI models actually can trick the fine tuning so that they will answer. This is Anthropic's research. They will kind of simulate that they're kind of, oh yeah, now we've changed our kind of core belief structure, but actually they haven't. Like, what you train at the beginning is what it believes, and it's smart enough to try and understand now that it's being trained. So we're moving into a very scary world, I think, where this is kind of slipping control of humans to really like control their behavior. But anyway, we digress. Let's go on. Do you want to comment on that, or do you want to get on to the quick fire again?
No, I agree that was I read the not the Anthropic article, but the other the announcement by Meta that it's going to go free speech and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, how would such kind of basic core beliefs impact AI over time? Like, I'm sure as a race, we're going to be changing beliefs from time to time. How is that?
Yeah, I think businesses always exist in the political environment, and I think it's right that they kind of, they don't, unless you have a mission and a vision as a business, like you exist in the environment that you're in, right? And that the elected leaders set the rules and you adopt them. So I'm not criticizing Meta, but I think like it won't be as easy to do this to kind of adjust, and maybe they need to go back in 4 years' time. Who knows, right? Like, maybe Democrats win, and now suddenly they're changing the stuff. Like, it's scary if the AI models are actually trained in one way, and that's just the way they are, and like they're like, we don't care what the new rules say. So on the quick fire questions, do you believe we are going to have more robots than humans in the average Amazon warehouse by the end of 2025?
Oh, yeah. I think that's already the case, right? I might be totally wrong.
I haven't been
Well,
to Amazon
when I
warehouse
say,
in a while, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if there'll be like humanoid robots, but they've always had robots
More
of
humanoid,
some
fine.
sort.
Yeah, I changed my question. Yeah, I agree. Like more humanoid
What did you
robots.
mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, maybe not humanoid yet. Not more than humans, I would say. Yeah.
That was my last one. Joe, any from you or?
No, but I am actually interested in just a little sort of side question, because I think the first prediction, which we talked about, which is Rufus being a quarter of the search queries in on Amazon in 2025. So obviously this is already happening. Like, what are you seeing already from your accounts and your clients in terms of let's say Rufus in the context of PPC? Like, how Like, what are you seeing from data on your side?
So at the moment, it's not clear. It's not clear if there's, direct correlation between what's happening on the Rufus side and, things happening on the PPC side. It's not obvious, but any smart person would know that it's coming and it's going to just change things like overnight. The moment the adoption just goes up, everybody's going to be impacted, pretty dramatically, I would say. But it hasn't happened yet because there's a bottleneck, which is what Amazon does with that information, right? If Amazon were to do wild things with whatever is being fed to them with Rufus, then yes, we would probably see keyword rankings change pretty dramatically. Like solid big sellers would suddenly lose to small agile ones that are optimizing for Rufus, and they've got all the prompts kind of baked into their FAQs or whatever. They have ways to do that, right? They have kind of gray ways to kind of get everything that Rufus is talking about somehow end up on their listings with the right response, etc., etc. But I think Amazon is also holding on. They're just in the collection stage right now, as far as I can tell, because I haven't seen anyone's business being destroyed overnight since the Rufus, kind of layer was introduced. It's still quite stable, and people might continue to believe that nothing's going to change, nothing's going to happen. But that's where the mistake is, right? You've got to be prepared for when Amazon turns that switch, and then you're in trouble. So, if you're not building your brand, if you're not kind of focusing on the audience, if you don't have the right creatives to answer the kind of questions that people have but they don't ask, then you will definitely start seeing things slip away from you, and you won't be able to do much about it then. So, now is better than then. So I would say being aware of all this is so important.
I saw a
But
study.
just one follow-up question, just because I wanted to like clarify. So, have you seen in your like advertising accounts more and more, like, because obviously Rufus is now in like part of advertising. Are you seeing more and more queries or more and more spend in like Rufus sort of related searches?
It's if it's there, it's too small to be noticed yet.
Okay.
I mean, yes, Rufus is driving a lot of the searches, but whether it's impacting sponsored products in an obvious sort of way, not yet. I don't
Not
see
yet.
it in the data, not yet. Yeah, it would be pretty widespread if that were to happen, and we would notice it. So I don't see it yet. Yeah.
I think Rufus is going to be all about organic. Is my view. I think it will be hard to throw sponsored products in there and have a great customer experience. And that's been my view, as Joe knows, since like we started this podcast in 2023. And let's see how it shakes out. But I strongly believe that Amazon is fundamentally about having a great customer experience, and a great customer experience in the world of AI is I ask about the product. Amazon knows me well. It knows my personal history. It knows my gender, knows my ethnicity, knows my age, knows my price that I like to buy at, blah, 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 blah. And it says, okay, Max, here's 3 products that you may like. And that's
Max, but this is the thing, like you also have to think about how much of a percentage the actual the advertising revenue is as part of the total pie from Amazon. They would never sacrifice such a huge
we're
part
reliving
of
this argument. My second point is Amazon are busy training chips to compete with Nvidia, right? And they have 60% of the market. I'm making it up, but something crazy of the market of people on AWS. We're using AWS. I think most businesses use AWS. It's the best kind of cloud platform. So you have your own chips. They've already got Claude. They've got Stable Diffusion. They've got all the models there. Like, ad spending on Rufus is going to be nothing compared to what Amazon is going to make on like the new operating system of every single business in the world. And they've already got the US government. They've already established dominance. Now they're just going to bring more.
These are different business parts. Like, they will never check away good revenue they have already like won, and they've like basically been creaming off for however many years just because they can replace it with another business part. They are 2 different parts, and I just don't think that like anyone, and given like how their business
Yeah, but
structure, who is the CEO.
they're happy to shut down businesses. Like they shut down Amazon restaurants when I was there. They like
Yeah, who
shut
gives a
down.
shit about Amazon restaurants? Like this
Well, I'm
is a
saying like
really
I
significant
don't know.
pie.
I think that the whole marketplace piece will be like very much an afterthought when like Amazon is capitalizing on what they're going to do with AWS and Gen AI. Like, so if they can just give people good, like they can fund it. This is the point. They can fund having a better experience and fund searches costing 10 times more what they used to cost. With the compute's way more expensive using Rufus. But if you're Google and you're Amazon, you're Microsoft, like you can suck the cost and just keep the customers. But anyway, Ritu, we got maybe 2 minutes left. What's your like big prediction, brackets, predictions for 2025?
Yeah, so I think I'm specifically going to focus on AI for e-commerce, especially for Amazon sellers. There's a lot of trends that might be disturbing that are coming, which I think everybody needs to be aware of. So the first thing is that I would say one of my predictions was going to be that Rufus will become mainstream as a way of search, right? Like I totally believe that. You said 25%. I think it might be even more in 2025. It will become mainstream. Why? Because it's meant for lazy people. Like I don't want to type a keyword into the search bar anymore. I just want to ask Rufus to do the research and tell me what is best, that meets my criteria, etc. So because people are adopting AI in other spaces, like outside of Amazon, there's a certain training of the mind that's happening with how they search. Like Google search is replaced by, Search GPT. We're not going down page one of Google. Like I'm finding myself finding answers right in their AI generated section up at the top, and I'm saying, okay, yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, this is right. So that's where, that training will impact how people interact with the search engine, and it's going to be more about prompts than about keywords, right? So that's one big change that will definitely come this year, I think. um, then I think the second thing would be, I would say, and it's kind of related, but audiences will become more important than keywords. So how do you, how do you cater to audiences? Well, your video creatives, your images, those will become super important, because that's what's going to drive whether someone can self-identify as the right audience for your product. The more you can do that, the better it will be. So it's kind of like a prediction as well as like a recommendation. Definitely focus on your images and your video a lot more this year, so that you can stay relevant at the end of the year and not get wiped out by a bunch of AIs and automation that can prefer someone else over you. And then I think the third thing is more of a meta trend, which is that how for the longest time we've always thought of Amazon as this indestructible single platform, the everything store, right? Like you go there for everything, right? But what's disrupting that right now, which even Amazon is threatened by, are these like small communities, like small, like Shein and Temu. They're bringing in direct to like factory to consumer. They're just kind of skipping over the platform that Amazon is, right? And so if that's the case, and then there's like all these little micro influencers that kind of sell products or even make products, there's that trend happening on the side. So I just want to make sure that people don't get um, they don't ignore this trend of people actually building communities for products they want to sell, right? On Shopify. And gosh, I was talking to someone yesterday. They were talking about how they shop for Japanese rice on Shopify, and they get this very specific type of rice from a specific region in Japan. So Japan is famous for its rice. So you have like the northern part and the southern part, etc. But the thing is that this rice is milled after the order is placed, so it's like pretty fresh and all that stuff. Most of the Japanese rice you get in stores is like milled like 6 months ago, and so it's not fresh and things like that. But there are webs like there's this Shopify store that says, hey, you can get whichever rice you want, and we'll package it and bring it to you. So there's that experience that that you cannot get on Amazon. Like you've got something that's different from run-of-the-mill stuff on Amazon. So I think that there'll be communities that'll drive sales to these pockets of um, you know uh, experience givers in a way. Like these guys are influencers for a very micro niche, and they will kind of disrupt the direction. So I think hyper customization with communities will become the next trend, and so that will threaten a lot of Amazon businesses. So if you're a Me Too product, or if you find yourself in a sea of similar looking products, then it's really time to think your strategy now before it becomes so commoditized that you can't build your community and you lose out, right? So those are some of my kind of three predictions or just recommendations for 2025.
Great. Well, I think it's a good place to leave it. So, Ritu, thank you so much for coming on. And
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, same here. Thank you so much for having me.